Is the offensive line to blame for Alabama's woes on Saturday?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. We want to let you know that we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is now the #1 sports podcast network. And that's because of you guys. So we appreciate you guys a ton. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. And I'm not sure how our offensive line is doing, Jimmy. You tell me. We had some changes before the game this Saturday where you had the right guard and left guard were different. We got Wilkin Formby and Cam Dewberry at right guard and left guard, respectively. Of course, you had Parker Brailsford. Then you had Michael Carroll at the right tackle, and of course, Kaden Proctor at left tackle. Let me say one thing. I know a lot of people are beating the offensive line up right now, and that's okay. I understand that. That's fair to a degree, especially some people beating up Wilkin Formby specifically. I'm going to let you talk about that a little more because I can't speak on that. I can speak on this, that on the interception return for the pick six for Oklahoma, Michael Carroll hustled his tail off, and he almost got the guy near the goal line. Now, would Oklahoma have scored anyway? Probably. They at least would have kicked a field goal. But what that proved to me was that Michael Carroll gets it. He gets it.
Yeah, he plays hard. I mean, he plays hard. He even plays a little mean. He's just really inexperienced. You know, first of all, I want to start with this before I talk about the offensive line. The criticism is a little over the top. This offensive line is not terrible. It's not awful. The metrics and the numbers are out there to suggest that it's pretty good. As a matter of fact, I'm going to look into this. I think they're even a Joe Moore Award semifinalist. And for those that are unaware of how that award works, it's by far the most technical of all of those awards they hand out. Basically, it's nothing but offensive line experts that pore over tape and numbers, the pore over the actual tape, and then every offensive line in the country votes on it. I mean, it's extremely accurate is what I'm saying as compared to things like the Bolitnikoff or the Thorpe or all that stuff. And I think Alabama is a Joe Moore Award semifinals.
They aren't.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at it right now. It's a weird group. Cincinnati, Duke, Georgia Tech, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Oregon, Texas A&M, Utah, and Vandy.
Along with Alabama.
No, Alabama is not. That's why I'm saying they aren't.
They're not a semifinalist.
No, I'm looking at the semifinal for unveils. This was from 4 days ago.
Okay. They were on the list right before this one then. Whatever their list is before this one. And
Semi-finalist.
Must have been. Point being, here's another reason. Brailsford's probably going to be first team All-SEC. Proctor is likely to be a first-round draft pick. When two of your offensive linemen are all-stars at the national level, it's not terrible. So let's start with that. It's not terrible. Now, is it good? No, it's probably not good. And this is kind of where my rant will start. I am a little frustrated over this. You're at game 10, and for the first time all year, you commit to, we're not only going to start Michael Carroll at right tackle, we're going to play him the whole game. And we're going to move Formby inside, and he's going to play right guard the whole game. This had never happened before in any of the games prior. I'm a little frustrated over the constant. I mean, Jaden Robertson played every snap at right guard for 2 weeks, and then he plays zero. You know, and again, maybe he's hurt. I'm looking forward to the press conference today. Maybe he's hurt, and if so, I take some of that back. And it could very well be because Jaden Roberts has been banged up quite a bit and missed a lot of time over various things. That could be the case again. But there is no way that all of this shuffling and constant change has helped. It just doesn't feel like it has. And I'm frustrated with that. It's clear they don't want to rotate. If so, they would rotate Proctor and Brailsford. Do they do that? No. The two best players, they're out there on every snap, have been all season long. That rotated those spots. That tells me if they had a guy that they were comfortable with, they wouldn't do that. They're just clearly not comfortable with the other three spots, even after, again, Roberts playing every snap for 2 weeks in a row. Then they changed that. So that part is frustrating. But I do think the offensive line contributes heavily to some of the run game issues. The pass protection is generally pretty good. And for people out there just blame it on Formby, I mean, as you know, I don't put this gospel-like because to me it's not the gospel truth, but it is a helpful guideline. PFF said Formby was the best pass protector we had on the entire offensive line the whole game. He graded the highest of any offensive lineman up front in pass protection for the entire game. That in and of itself proves that all this, oh, it's Formby's fault, oh, it's Formby's fault. That's crazy. That's not true. That's not true at all, based on the way the game played out. And Michael Carroll, like you said, like Luke said, he hustled out one play. Couldn't be more excited about him. I still compare him to Tyler Booker. I think he's a Booker-like talent. But on the Ty Simpson strip fumble, that was Michael Carroll's guy, looked like to me. Now, unless he's picking up somebody else's guy, but it looked like that was Michael Carroll's guy on one of the game-changing turnovers. So it ain't all perfect out there because they made a change at right tackle. Obviously, no matter what they do at right tackle, right guard, and left guard, there's going to be some level of issue, which is why they're always constantly changing it out.
Yeah, I think for whatever reason, Formby is the whipping boy this year. Maybe he was last year too. And I think people have a hard time. It's just hard to win people back once they believe you're not a good offensive lineman because they only notice you when you do something poorly.
Well, last year, Pritchett was the whipping boy. They wanted Formby back.
No, that's right. That's true. Good point. So, yeah, I don't know. Just because they're not a Joe Moore semifinalist doesn't mean it's not a good offense. There were a lot of teams. Georgia wasn't on that list. I don't think Ohio State was on that list, but Michigan and Iowa, I think, were maybe, and Illinois maybe. So what I'm saying is you don't have to have a Joe Moore winning group to win the Natty. I do still think, though, it is so hard to truly evaluate an offensive line other than the eye test. I mean, yeah, you can do PFF. You can say, well, he graded out the highest on the pass block. Yeah, but it sure felt like they got a lot of pressure. Now, does that mean Cam Dewberry was the villain or Caden Proctor or Carroll or Brailsford? I don't know. I tend to feel like offensive linemen, for the most part, I feel like it's a chain link, and you're only as strong as the weakest link, and that's how you're kind of judged.
Well, it's five guys. All it takes is one of the five to miss the block, and the play can get blown up. It's not like it's five guys, and if three of them do their job, then everything worked out fine. No. All five have to get their job done, or you could have a big problem. So it's the team within the team. It's easy to point to them when it doesn't go great. And again, I think there's a difference between criticism and over-criticism. I think they're over-criticized, but is there some level of criticism due? Yes. And again, I point to a lot of the rotation and not having the same five out there and developing some sort of a chemistry. I think that's an issue. And I haven't been a big fan of all this switching out, but it's clearly the case that, Formby, hasn't been great. That's certainly true. Carroll is a freshman. The offensive line is not a great place for a freshman in this league. On the other hand, Oklahoma has a freshman tackle that had a fantastic game per PFF. I even pointed that out on Twitter. That guy's a future first-round pick. He's I think Michael Carroll will be that guy in time. But Dewberry, Vandermark, the guys that they're constantly, Jaden Roberts, the guys that are constantly in, constantly out, clearly they're not great players, or they would be out there like Proctor and Brailsford are.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I guess in the end, it's, there is a sequence of blame, unless it's just blatantly obvious. I mean, at first you might blame a certain player, then you might blame a certain position group, then you move on to the next position group. I mean, like it's offensive line, then or maybe in our case, it's running backs, then offensive line, and pretty soon it'll be quarterback if things don't get turned around. And frankly, I felt like Ty Simpson, while I said after LSU I thought it was his worst game, he topped his worst game against LSU with Oklahoma. To me, he just was not on target.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that in the second segment, but just one last thing. And this is ultimately my point about the offensive line. We just played Oklahoma with the season on the line, and now as a result, the season is on the brink. Does anyone out there doubt that the offensive line lineup won't look different next week? I mean, does anybody really think it's once again going to be Carroll, right tackle, Formby, Brailsford, Dewberry, Proctor? I mean, it's going to be different. It's going to be different. I mean, because it's been different, kind of every week. And that's the frustrating part for me is the constant change, and they haven't settled on who the best players at each spot are by this point in the season. That's frustrating. On the other hand, I don't think the offensive line is solely to blame for the run game. And I think in pass protection, they're actually pretty good.
Yeah, I'd sort of like to see us pick a lane and let's ride in that puppy and see how we do. Now, if it turns out to be awful, I mean, you got to make adjustments. But I would like to see, I think you gain more confidence knowing just where you stand. Talking a little FanDuel, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed start of the game or you want to ride that hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to the fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at bigger payouts. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers 300 in bonus bets. Win your first $5 bet win. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Jimmy.
The NBA.
You dang right. All right, you had a Ty Simpson point to make, so go for it.
Yeah, and I've seen too much of this too that I just disagree upon. Great, I've seen. Boy, the offense has really gone in the tank the last 2 weeks in particular. It's been really bad over the last 2 weeks, and this is disgraceful. You have to look at the opponent to an extent. It's about the opponent, too. LSU was the best defense in this league for the first 6 or 7 weeks of the season, and Blake Baker is considered, across coaching, one of the top 5-6 defensive coordinators in college football. And look at those dudes that he gets to coach. They were really good until about the last 2 weeks of the Brian Kelly thing and when it went off the cliff. But they were really good. Now Oklahoma's the best defense in the country. They have a lot to do with this so-called struggle. They have a lot to do with it. It's not like all of a sudden Alabama couldn't move the ball against Kansas. I mean, LSU was the best defense in this league over the first half of the SEC. Now, over the course of the season, Oklahoma. So, yes, Alabama's offense is struggling. This is what happens when you can't run the ball. And we'll talk about that today and the rest of the week. Yeah, Alabama can't run the ball. That puts you in a precarious spot. That means if you can't run the ball, everything else has to go really well. And against Oklahoma, it did not. Alabama put itself in that position. But Oklahoma's defense is freaking outstanding, and Alabama still managed 412 yards, 21 points, despite all the turnovers and the bad stuff. So you have to look at who Alabama's playing and understand who they're playing and who's coordinating them. We said right here on this show before this 3-game stretch started, Blake Baker, Brent Venables, DJ Durkin, this won't be easy. We said it before this stretch even started. It's about that more so than it's about, all of a sudden Alabama forgot how to play offense.
Well, and I think the other thing is you're playing Blake Baker at a time when LSU's clearly had a shakeup and an off week, and so they have to go out there and prove themselves. Then you play in Oklahoma after an off week. They're fighting for their playoff lives. And then you play DJ Durkin in what will be Auburn Super Bowl. Auburn fans go, it's not our Super Bowl. It is your Super Bowl. Because if you win this game, you'll feel like the season is a win. I just know Auburn people, and that's the way it's going to be. So
Durkin may very well be the head coach.
He may get the head coaching job for this win. So don't tell me it's not your Super Bowl. And that, again, I'm not downplaying. I'm not trying to degrade you by saying this. I'm just saying that's what it is. If Durkin wins this game, he quickly moves to the top of the line for a lot of Auburn people. Will it be the right Auburn people? I don't know, but I'd be willing to bet it is.
No, I agree more.
So what I'm saying is you're playing three – outside of your defense, you're probably playing the 3 other best defenses in the league in a row, essentially. Eastern Illinois, let's get them out of there. But
I think Texas and Missouri are up there, in terms of, but I
would if you ask me, I'm going to take I'm going to take those three defenses over Texas and Missouri's defense. Texas's defense, by the way, just gave up 35 to Georgia. Auburn didn't do that. Bama didn't do that.
That's true. You know? That's a great point. And Auburn had not given up more than 24 in a game, famously, until Vanderbilt, where they gave up, 1 million yards and a lot of points to Vanderbilt, who's a difficult prep. I think Alabama fans will be the first day. Well, Vanderbilt's sort of difficult to prepare for, but Auburn's defense is outstanding. It's not just good; it's outstanding. It's very good. And Durkin, like him or not like him, or wanting to be the head coach or not, DJ Durkin is a high quality defensive coordinator. You can disagree if you want. You're not just disagreeing with Jimmy and Luke. You're disagreeing with Nick Saban. Happen to know Saban thinks very highly of him.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to start talking about was Eastern Illinois. Let's move forward. I mean, this Oklahoma loss hurts. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It hurts and it sucks because, again, that was a playoff clinch. I tweeted it on our last drive with 7 minutes, and I had a feeling. A lot of people thought we handled this poorly. I thought we handled it okay. The last drive took up a lot of time. I think that was by design. Like, let's take up all the clock. Let's get down there and try and score a touchdown or kick a field goal. We did that against South Carolina for the most part too, by the way. But Eastern Illinois, Jimmy, I was looking at them going, I hope this isn't like Auburn plays Mercer this weekend, and Mercer's sneaky enough to where you have to prepare more than you probably want to. They have no shot to beat Auburn. Don't get me wrong.
They 9-1, 10-1, something like that.
There's something like that. They're 9-1, 8-1, 10-1, somewhere in that neighborhood. They're not horrendous. It looks like Eastern Illinois may fall in that horrendous category. And I'm sorry if you're an Eastern Illinois, dingo or triceratops or whatever they're called. I don't know what they're called.
So cool.
And if I'm insulting you, well, that's just too bad. Don't listen to Alabama podcast before we play you. And also, I mean, look, let me just throw this out there because we will do a little more Eastern Illinois prep, but I have a feeling our Eastern Illinois prep that we discuss is going to be more about what can we do to get ready for Auburn and hopefully the SEC championship game. But I'm looking at Eastern Illinois' record, and I just want people to know this now and to maybe put a smile on their face. They beat Dayton 24-14. I don't know if Anthony Grant coached them or not, but that sounds like a Dayton basketball score under his leadership. They lost to Indiana State 38-14. They lost to Illinois State 42-30, and then they turned it around against – they have played every Illinois you can play. They played Western Illinois. They beat them 31-23, and Tennessee State 31-7, and then it's lose. And the last loss was 42-12, and that was against Lindenwood. And we all know you don't want none of Lindenwood coming towards the end of the season.
Wrap it up before you play that team from maybe Linden, Alabama. I'm not sure.
Who was we had a basketball transfer from Lindenwood several years ago.
Really?
Yeah, I can't remember who his name was. He was like supposed to be a dude. I can't remember. I don't know if he was a dude or not. I can't remember. Anywho, apparently he wasn't dude enough for me to remember. But I feel like I'm going to be mad at myself when Michael Southern or somebody listens to this will know exactly who I'm talking about, and he'll put it out there and I'll kick myself for it. Now, passing yards. Listen, they've thrown for 1,054 yards on the season. That is low. Now, they have a running back who's run for 691. I'm not sure if you tally up our three leading rushers, we get to 691.
My question this week, and I know people think I mean this sarcastically. I'm not really being sarcastic. Can we run the ball against even them? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's how bad it is. Now, I did look up, speaking of the Alabama run game, some of y'all that follow us on Twitter might have seen a tweet that I put out because I was curious to look up. I looked up DeBoer's rushing yards at Fresno, the 2 years he was there, the 2 years he was at Washington, and last year at Alabama, laid it all out, rushing yards per season, because I'm real curious. I figured this would be the worst, but I wanted to know how far the worst. And it is. This is the worst rushing team that DeBoer has coached since becoming a head coach at FBS. Alabama's rushing for fewer yards than any of us Fresno teams, any of us Washington teams, and, of course, fewer than Alabama last year with Milroe. But another thing these numbers proved, the rushing yardage was never really great. As a matter of fact, last year, and it was primarily because of Milroe, and you built it around Milroe's legs, last year was the most rushing yards DeBoer had ever put up. And that's because the primary focus of the offense was the quarterback run. So you can say, well, that's just an outlier. he's not going to run the offense like that other seasons. I agree, he's not. But the larger point being, look, I think with DeBoer and Grubb, those wanting Alabama to, quote, run the damn ball, y'all are just going to be disappointed. And simply because that's not what Alabama hired him to do. That's not what he does. That's not going to be the offense. And I do think that that's when you're like, why can't Alabama run the ball? I think that's reason number one. I don't think this is ever going to be a 200-yard a game running the ball type offense. That's not the design of it or one of their, quote, goals. Now, I do think they want it to be better than it is because this is bad. He knows it's bad, and they're trying to fix it. But this is too bad. This is the least rushing yards of any DeBoer head coach team since 2020 when he became the head coach of Fresno.
And you're not going to fix it. I mean, you might rush for 1 billion yards against Eastern Illinois. I can't even find their defensive stacks right now, and I've spent almost 30 seconds looking for them. So, yeah. But you're not going to fix it against Auburn. You're not going to fix it against, if you go to the SEC title game, whoever you play in that, you're not going to fix it in the first round of the playoffs or second round or third round or final. You're just not going to do it. It's not there. It's not there. So quit trying to force that. I mean, we're all run the dang ball people, but we were run the dang ball people when we had Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry and Trent Richardson and Najee Harris. And now we're like, hey, let's hold off on running. That's what we wanted.
We wanted Saban to run the ball more after Saban sort of changed what he does on offense starting in 2018. When he turned it over to Tua in 2018 and then had Tua McBrice, Saban changed the offense dramatically. And we went to a throw it all over the yard, spread it out type offense, and we ran the ball a little less and a little less effectively. And we all wanted, the run the damn ball hat, during that period of time because we felt we should run it more. DeBoer runs it even less. I mean, because that's just what the offense is. By the way, when I was looking at those Fresno things, I found what most people will consider a useless piece of trivia. But you know who was on DeBoer's Fresno staff? That Tim Skipper guy who's the interim head coach at UCLA.
Oh, wow.
The guy that right now is the head football coach at UCLA. He's just interim, and I don't think he's got any chance of being the head coach going forward.
No chance.
But that Tim Skipper guy, he was on DeBoer's staff at Fresno. I found that interesting.
You find some weird stuff interesting. No, I put the wrong thing up there. Let's talk a little game time. Y'all know I love it. I mean, I've just used it all the time, and I'm going to be using it again here shortly. I actually did get my tickets for the Players Era tournament, so I'm going to that. I didn't get these through Game Time, but I probably should have because somebody else got them and whatever. Anywho, college basketball and college football are both back. Couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, energy in the stands. There's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping up checkout. That's why I use Game Time. Look, pull up the Game Time app right now. In a couple of taps, you can see some amazing deals for about 25 smacks. And I love zone deals too. Pick the section. Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's all one word for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply because they apply to everything. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege, $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, download, Game Time today and be happy. Unless you watch the Oklahoma replay.
Which I'm going to do today, by the way, I think.
You glutton for punishment.
Well, I want to. Like sometimes I want to watch the tape because I want to know who to actually be angry at so I can be mad online.
I'd rather not know. I'd rather just be angry at all of them.
Well, and frankly, it's the ultimate team game. It's never one guy. It's not Ty. It's not Formby. As a matter of fact, why can't Alabama run the ball? I would say the offensive line, the running back room, the tight end room, which a lot of people we don't talk about enough, and even Ty. I think he might have been off on even a couple pre-snap reads in terms of
Jimmy. His eyes. Yeah, see, the reason Jimmy's on this podcast is because Jimmy does dive into the numbers. He knows all these things, and he has a great memory recall. And the reason I'm on it is because number one, I'm very lucky, and number two, I do feel like I can pick up on some things in a game that have no rhyme or reason, but I'm just like that doesn't seem right. And when they zoomed in on Ty's eyes on that last drive, I well, I was going to say I looked at somebody, but I didn't. It was just me in there. I looked at myself and said, "Self, we're in trouble." I tweeted it. As soon as it happened, I said, I saw the look in his eyes. It's not the look of a guy who's going to lead me to a game-winning drive right here. Maybe against South Kakalaki, yes. Against this Oklahoma team, no. But a couple of other things, Jimmy. We want to talk recruiting, but I do want to say this weekend, worst weekend ever, because in the voice of comic book guy from The Simpsons. So Thursday night, Alabama loses by 7 at home to Purdue. A game they could have won, but frankly would have stolen because they didn't deserve it. Purdue was better. Yeah, then they lose to Oklahoma. I tried to talk my wife out of my going to the Orange Beach to a soccer tournament with my daughter because I've been to New York, Milwaukee, Chattanooga, a lot of places, and now I'm leaving for Baltimore here in a few minutes. And I was like, I just want some rest. And that went over like a lead balloon. So I ended up going to Orange Beach. I never went on the sand because I had to go to her tournament first thing Saturday morning. Then I skipped her tournament to watch the Bama game, which was depressing. Then we had a tournament game on Sunday morning. My daughter went 0 for 3 in her tournament games. And then when I get home, I'm like, finally, something good might happen. Maybe Houston will beat Auburn. I had to sit there and watch that whole darn thing until Auburn lost it right at the last second. I was not emotionally ready for Auburn to beat the number one team in the country, and all that other stuff happened to me. So thankfully, every now and again, man upstairs looks out for you. So recruiting, there, despite the loss, and again, people take way too much into if you lose a game when you have a big recruiting weekend, like, oh, they saw that disaster. I think they look at it. First of all, I don't think they really care. I think they care more about how they're treated on the visit and what can they do. And it sure sounded like everybody had a blast, and everybody was like, "Yeah, Alabama didn't do some things well, but that's all right. When I get here, we'll do them better."
Yeah, imagine that. A 17-year-old who did not grow up a fan of Alabama is not emotionally invested in the game like the 40 and 50-year-olds who have been lifetime fans who invest all of their emotion and all of their money and all of their time in Alabama football. These 17-year-olds from somewhere else are just not as emotionally invested in the outcome. They're all making business decisions. In part, that's yes, money. But they're making business decisions. What's the best spot for me? What's the best program for me? In Alabama on game day, hey, look, ask the guys in the media that go to different stadiums every week. They'll all tell you Alabama's game day operations, which means putting on the game itself, is top of the list, top of the line. Alabama does it as well or better than anybody in this country. Games at Bryant-Denny are an event, and the fans are there, and every seat is sold, and the fans are into it, and the tailgating scene around campus. No, it's no wonder that these kids love these trips to Alabama and is a big part of Alabama's recruiting success. No question. It doesn't matter that Alabama lost. Now, if they lost every single week, guess what? The atmosphere wouldn't be quite as good. But they don't lose every single week. As a matter of fact, it's the first time they've lost in that stadium since Sark beat Saban with Quinn Ewers. That's how long ago that was.
And there's more recruiting news that'll be coming out. But, boy, if you're a Texas guy and you're looking over there and you're saying, okay, Oklahoma's about to make the playoffs and we aren't, and Oklahoma's schedule was much tougher than ours, you got to be a little worried about where you are and where your staff is and all this. Because, again, I get killed sometimes. I used to get killed sometimes, I should say, with a group that I do some sports stuff with in Alexander City because they thought I relied too much on recruiting rankings. And that always, I would always say the team with the most players and best players wins. You're right. I was like, there are some caveats, though. You can have the most players and the best players, but if you don't have any chemistry or if you don't have any culture or if you don't have a coach with a game plan, you can still lose. I mean, there can still be a David Goliath thing here. But I said, for the most part, if you give me a team full of 5 and 4 stars, I'll give you a team full of 3 stars. Let's just let the dice roll where they end up. I said, I will do that every time. It doesn't mean I'll beat you every time, but I'll beat you more than you'll beat me. And that's all I'm looking for. And if I'm Texas, I'm looking like I got a bunch of 4 and 5s. Oklahoma's got some 5s, maybe a few 4s, but they don't recruit like Texas does. And they're just better. And maybe their evaluations are better.
Texas did not hire Sark to sometimes make the playoffs. I mean, they hired Sark to win SEC and national championships, and that hasn't happened yet. I do think Texas is one of the better programs in college football. It's clear based on their recruiting success.
And they beat Oklahoma's tail this year.
They did, and this was a Final Four program. By the way, for those saying, "Boy, Sark, it just hadn't worked out." He was in the Final Four last year and the Final Four the year before that. So Texas has had a lot of success under Sark, but have they had the sort of success that they're paying for? No. I wouldn't hot seat Sark in any way, but I do think that grumbling is fair.
Yeah, I think grumbling is fair if you're Texas, because you look, and apparently I didn't see the end of the broadcast because I don't remember what I was doing, probably crying after the Oklahoma game. But Texas, Kirk was stumping for Texas. Kirk Herbstreit, at least some people felt like Kirk was stumping for Texas, like to even get in at 9-3. I got bad news for y'all. Texas ain't getting in the deadgum playoffs. I don't care what they do. Ain't no chance, no way, no how.
They would need a lot of help. I think it could happen. They need a lot of help.
They would need all the help. We got to lose. I think Oklahoma's got to lose.
Both things.
Who else?
Both things could happen.
Could. It's not. I mean, on the Oklahoma side, on our side, probably.
Probably not. I don't know. Oklahoma's got Missouri and LSU at home. Missouri's probably getting Bo Perbula back for that game Saturday. I would just say, Oklahoma, don't be celebrating that Alabama win. Missouri's pretty good. And LSU, I mean, it just depends on if they're up. They obviously sleptwalked a little bit through the first half of that Arkansas game. I thought the Alabama loss might end LSU's effort for the season. That did not prove true. And by the way, Harold Perkins was outstanding against Arkansas. LSU's got the dudes to beat Oklahoma. I mean, that could happen.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.